Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. Eggs for the shipmate! Eggs for the shipmate! Eggs for the shipmate! My very first meal in the Navy, I had to deal with that. I came in late in the evening, we were thrown in the barracks, and everyone zonked out. It was a long day. But the next morning was the first time I had a meal in the Navy. And you go stand in line, they march you into the galley. You stand in line. It's already been a bunch of shut up, quit talking. Like nobody's allowed to talk. You start to realize that real quick. And so you stand in line, and so the only voices you hear are coming from the meal line. And when you go up to get your meal in the Navy, you put out your tray, and the only things you could say ever in boot camp are things like what you want. If you want eggs, you say eggs, shipmate. The person goes, eggs for the shipmate, and gives you your serving. All right, and you go down, hash browns for the shipmate, hash browns for the shipmate. But because it's the only time anyone could talk, some people are really hamming it up. And so my very first meal in the Navy, I'm sitting there trying to eat, and every 10, 15 seconds, eggs for the shipmate, because this one chick was serving the eggs and was the loudest person on the line. And so every single bite, I'm like, oh my God, I'm having a hell of a time getting through my eggs, shipmate. So that was, it woke me up real quick. It's like, I'm going to have to learn to tolerate a lot of annoying people for the rest of my life. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I am your host, the Madman. I want to remind you again that I can point it the right direction. I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I would appreciate it. Or you can send me money through Cash App. Use the cash tag shockmonkeyradio. I'm pointing at it, see? All one word. You can also follow me on social media over here if you want. Yeah, also check the descriptions. Like the day after the live video, I put the links to my books and stuff like that. If you read, if you know how to read, I have books available on Amazon. I'll put links in the description later. All right, so I was going to talk about my enchiladas, but I don't know. I didn't want to even start getting into the food thing. You know, I don't want to be a food thing because I like to cook. And one of the things I like to cook is enchiladas. And you're like, why do that? A lot of people say, why make enchiladas? You're just like, it's a taco with extra steps. It's a burrito with extra steps. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't like tacos. Tacos are stupid. You got to turn your head sideways to eat them. I don't like tacos. But some people, they're like, I'm not going to make enchiladas because by the time you start making tacos, you're like, oh, I got tacos now. Halfway into making enchiladas, you're like, oh, I got tacos now. And you just say, screw it, I'm just going to have tacos. It takes patience. It takes delayed gratification to make enchiladas. But that's all I want to talk about, enchiladas, because I had a crazy-ass dream. That's what I was going to talk about, but I had a crazy-ass dream. I had a dream I was Dr. Octopus. Maybe I'm playing too much Marvel Strike Force, but I had a dream I was Dr. Octopus. I was on the side of this busy road, and I just started grabbing cars with the tentacles and ripping them apart, throwing them at buildings. Oh, I was having a ball. I was like, oh, wow, these things are strong. And next, I'm throwing things around. People are running for their lives. There are people who are trying to film me and stuff like that. So I throw pieces of cars at them. I'm holding up traffic. Next thing you know, cops start showing up. They start shooting at me, but I wrap two of the tentacles around myself as like a shield, leaving a little crack that I can look through, and starts just thwacking the hell out of the cops with the other two tentacle arms. And the whole time I'm filing my nails, I'm sitting there just making cool supervillain gestures or flipping the bird or, doing the cats in the cradle thing. Dancing a little jig, because you got 4 other limbs you could do, other that are normal, you could do normal stuff with. You could sit there with your camera. It's like, I'm going to record for my POV, Dr. Octopus POV channel. And then, I ended up catching a train as it passed by, and I rode it until it got to a bridge, and they climbed down under the bridge and escaped along a river. Way cooler than talking about my enchiladas, even though I have a good point about enchiladas and delayed gratification. Alrighty, so I always like to leave a little pause between segments in case I want to clip it later. But I had someone gave me a suggestion to talk about herd mentality. And the context in which they were talking about herd mentality, they were talking about the fact that so many people jump upon this woke train, there's like, and all that. And it's, in many ways, it's just people who are following the herd. And yeah, that's true. But I mean, I understand that you and I could be above that now, but it's not like I was never an idiot. It's not like I was never a victim to trends, to what the herd was doing. The first memory that comes to mind is the mullet. I grew a mullet when I was a kid. And the whole reason I grew the mullet was because the end goal was having a rat tail. So you got to start growing the mullet. And yeah, I was white trash. I am white trash. Sorry. So I grew the mullet. Then I had it cut perfectly in the back. So I had a nice little rat tail. And that lasted about a month. And then I realized this is stupid. This is stupid and vain. And, it singles you out. It makes you stand out. And some people like that and other people don't. I was one of those people who don't like standing out. I know, ironically, that I want to do this now. So I was different when I was a kid. So my point is that it was a dumb trend for me to follow. All right. Because eventually, after years of dedication and hard work, starting out at the bottom as a poor white trash, after dedication and a lot of sweat and blood and tears, I've ended up still as poor white trash. All right. So it's something to be proud of. Next trend I followed was an interesting culture shock. All right. I moved from Georgia to Virginia. And when we lived in Georgia, if you had Nike Airs, they came with a tag that said Nike on it, and it had a little hole loop in a hole thing, and people would string that along their laces and put them on their shoes. That's what they did in Georgia. All right. But I never had Nikes in Georgia. All right? And so that's what the kids in Georgia did when they had Nike Airs, especially, because it was a status symbol. Having those sneakers when you're a kid, it was a status symbol. And so when I moved to Virginia, I finally got a pair of Nike Airs. And so I put the tag proudly on there. It's like, I'm the coolest kid in school now. I got the tag on my shoe. I got the Nike tag, a genuine Nike tag on my shoe. Then I came to school and people were like, dude, what are you doing? That's like a keychain. Why is that looped around your laces, you dumbass? I didn't get that at the first period without taking that off and putting it in my book bag. You know what I mean? Trends are friggin' stupid. All right. I was lucky enough to learn that at a young age, that trends are friggin' stupid. It's also the same thing with being in a peer group or calling yourself goth. I'm a goth. I'm a rocker. I'm a country boy. Putting yourself in one of those categories, you have every right to do it, but I think you're limiting the scope of who you are as a human being. All right. Now, the whole point of herd mentality is based upon the prey aspect of herds, like sheep herds and so stuff. And so when danger, comes near, where society starts challenging the norms of what everyone knows to be true, everyone just flocks together, going towards each other. It's the ones who stray off that tend to get killed. I understand that, but it's a prey mentality. But you got to understand, every single one of us are wolves. All right. You have the choice. You don't have to be a prey. You don't have to be a sheep. So that's my point. It's none of us have ever always resisted herd mentality. Everyone's followed a trend at one time or another. It's just, I was lucky enough as a teenager to realize trends are stupid. Why am I following this stuff like that? It's because punk will be here and gone. You know what I'm saying? Grunge will be here and gone. Thank God. Thank God that those things are gone. Thank God my rat tail is gone. I still wish I had the Nike tag, though. That'd be cool if I still had it somewhere. That's vintage now. I'm sure, aren't those old Air Jordans worth money? Yeah, the first, because I was there when they first came out and stuff like that, and I admit those were stylish sneakers. But that was the point. It's I got to a point where I didn't care about what somebody's shoes are. It's even when somebody says, "Hey, did you notice my shoes?" It's these are $300 shoes. It's why do you think I care? You say I don't care about fashion. I don't care about any of that. I'm over it. Herd mentality. All right. I had to go to a fan for topic suggestions. I'm curious how EK is going to react to this next part. Look, the Mandela Effect is bullshit. Stop with the Mandela Effect stuff. Stop, please. I'm sick and tired of hearing about the Mandela Effect. All right, we didn't enter a new dimension or anything like that, you know. And here's what I find interesting is like the Mandela Effect kind of takes place. All of the events of the Mandela Effect kind of take place around the same time, and that's at the same time that a whole lot of people in the world started smoking way too much weed. You know what I mean? And now we're at a point today where there's people smoking weed all the time all over the United States, and there's people who really struggle trying to understand. It's like, is the Earth really round? Holy cow, I don't think we've been to the moon. Because why haven't we been back? Why wouldn't you go back if you've been there? I think people are just getting way too stoned, and they forget things that exist, like the Earth being round. All right? The Mandela Effect is ridiculous, and it's ridiculous because human memory is fallible. Human memory is malleable, and human memory fades. Okay? Tell me about the first time you skinned your knee. Do you remember where you were, what you were doing? Do you remember every aspect of the first time you skinned your knee? Or how about the first time you shoplifted? Do you remember every aspect in detail of every time you shoplifted? Because everyone shoplifts, right? At some point. Either when you're young, like as a kid, or when you're a senior citizen. Because those are the people who shoplift the most. Interesting fact. So, you know, if you can remember that, you know, every detail of it, you got to understand is like if you have one eyewitness to an event like a murder or something like that, and there's no body, it's like we have one eyewitness, that's not enough. But if you see two eyewitnesses to a murder, you know, but no body, then you got to go to trial because that's two different witnesses. All right, one is not enough because memory is malleable and fallible and fades. And by the time you go to a murder trial, it's been 3 or 4 years since the actual events. And so when they get cross-examined by the lawyers, like their memory is just either they don't remember it because it's been so long, or they fill in the blanks with their own mind to fit whatever they felt happened. All right? Human memory is a mess. It's not like records. It's why we invented writing, because human memory is not that great. All right. I understand that there are cultures that remember songs that you have hundreds of verses and stuff like that. And that's super. That's interesting. But they have to make them rhyme and have a beat to them in order to remember them. It's seriously like your top 10 playlist songs. You know every single word. All right. But it's still not as good as writing thoughts down in an organized manner. Human brains are screwed up. The CERN thing didn't spin up the Hadron Collider or whatever and take us to a different reality. We've just been screwing with our heads too long. You grow stupid. You grow stupid. People out there that think the world is flat, and there's people out there that think that boys can become girls, and vice versa. Cats and dogs living together. Mass hysteria. All right. Because of all the people I follow, I have to talk about this next subject, and this is the Acorn. I'm sure you've heard of it. I'm sure you've heard of the Acorn. And if you haven't seen this video, we're going to watch it together, and we're going to talk about it while it goes on. So, how we doing over there, tech guy? EK. All right, falling Acorn. It's hard to see it. It hits the roof of the car. You can see it here on the right. It's very quick.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! You know.
Mag out. Reloading. No? Okay. 15 rounds, I guess. Mag out. Reloading.
What? the car! I was shot through the car! Oh!
Do you know your tag number off the top of your head?
All right, this is the female cops, the sergeant.
What? What? Oh! Where? Right there?
I'll shoot at it. That's our car, isn't it? We should shoot at it.
Jesse!
Finish your
Jesse, are
clip.
you okay?
Finish your clip. I'm going to run over to cover.
Get
Because
in
there's a
the house!
handcuffed man
Jesse!
inside
Get
that you've
back,
already
get back. Where
patted
is he?
down.
Where is he?
In the car! I was shot!
The guy we arrested already? He's still in the car?
43, give me traffic. Shots fired. Shots fired. I got a deputy down.
No, he thinks he's hit. All right, this is back to the guy cop who thinks he's hit. I already dumped a mag in there.
Dude, am I hit?
This is his backup's vehicle. And they got their ARs
My
out.
legs went numb when it hit me.
All right.
I don't know, my legs went numb.
Is there
for a
anything else? I
second.
think that's just him.
I heard a pop come
Ugh,
from.
I freaked out.
Can you move?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he resigned, obviously, because there's no way you're living that down. That female sergeant, she should probably lose her job as well. Because when it comes to shooting a weapon, you don't just point, where? There? Our car? And start emptying a clip before you know what you're shooting at. All right? And that's the same sin of the first cop. He heard the Acorn, right? And he thought he was being shot at. All right? But he just thought he was being shot at, thought it was from the car, and still opened fire anyway. And that's not how you should, how firearms should be used at all. All right, I know a lot of people probably already said this a million times, but the point is that, this is a terrible failure on these police, because they are dealing with dangerous weapons, and just because you freaked out, you don't empty a clip when you're not certain of what you're shooting at, especially if you think it's coming from your own car. And the only thing that's in the car is your stuff and the guy you already cuffed and patted down. Incidentally, the guy that cuffed and that was in the back seat, they already searched him. He had borrowed his girlfriend's car and refused to return it. And it had sent her a picture of him holding a silenced pistol, pointing it at the car, like holding her car ransom, I guess. All right. So that's what he was cuffed and searched for. All right. He didn't have a weapon on him. All right. He's sitting in the back of the cruiser. This cop comes walking by. Acorn falls on the hood of the car. Cop freaks out thinking silenced pistol and empties a clip into the vehicle that he's arrested in. The guy's okay. And he's going to be a millionaire now because he hit the lottery. These cops screwed up royally. And the city's going to, and whoever, the agency they work for is going to have to end up paying this guy because his life was very seriously in danger over a very, very bad mistake. Two of them. Because the female, I think, is a sergeant. All right. I glean article. I read, skim over articles. So if I got some details wrong, forgive me. All right. But when she comes out and she's like, where? And sees him shooting, she's not even looking at anything. She's at the car. And just starts shooting. And that's irresponsible of somebody of her rank and experience. It's straight up shoot first, ask questions later. And that's why I love body cam videos. Because hold these people to account. All of them to account. The people getting arrested and the people arresting them. Hold them all to account. Absolutely. EK and I were just talking before the show. Is like, if there were no body cameras, it was like, what would those cops have reported? Well, just some black male came running around and fired 4 clips at us. We returned fire. We don't know if the bullets hit anything, though. That's why all our casings are here.
Suspect got away.
Yeah, suspect got away. He was probably on PCP, Anyway. But probably one of the funniest body cam videos I've seen in a long time. I think since body cam videos. All right. Let's do a movie review before we get into the news. So I watched a movie this weekend called The Legend of Billie Jean. And I remember seeing this movie a bunch when I was a kid. And for obvious reasons, you'll find out why. And not only is it, a lot of eye candy in the movie, but it's also a really cool story about justice. And The Legend of Billie Jean is a story about Christian Slater here. And this is Helen Slater. No relation. Seriously. All right. And Helen Slater, she also played Supergirl in that horrible, horrible movie back in the 80s. And Christian Slater, you know him from awesome movies like 3,000 Miles to Graceland. And so, so Christian Slater's character his name is Binks. He has a moped that he takes good care of, took a lot of, saved up for it and stuff like that, this moped. And he and his sister, are driving around town, and there's this guy following Billie Jean around because, she's a hot chick. I don't know, ever? He's following Billie Jean around. And so, but he's kind of bullying Binks at the same time. He and his friends are real jerks, and there's no doubt about it. They're 80s style jerks, no doubt about it. And so they end up stealing Binks's moped. All right. And so Binks and his sister, Billie Jean, he's sitting there and is like, well, we need to, call the police or something like that. And so they go to Binks says, I'm going to go get my scooter. And she says, I'm going to the police. She goes to the police, and the police says, oh, I bet the kid's just messing around, just having a good time. It's like, if he's not back on your lawn in 2 days, I'll go give him a visit or something like that. Then she comes back home, and she finds the moped is back at the house, at the trailer they live in. And it's all beat up, tore to hell. And so she goes inside and goes to Binks, and Binks is all beat up. All right. And she's pissed, and she's mad. And so they go and take the scooter to get estimated on the damages. And so they get an estimate, and then they go to the guy, I think his name is Hubie or something like that. They go to him to present him with the estimate, and so I suggest you pay it. And he works at his dad's shop, and I suggest you pay it. And he's like, no, I'm not paying that, And so she confronts the fathers about, this is, he destroyed my brother's bike. I want you to pay this $608 to fix his bike. And that's all they want. We're not even going to talk about the being beat up and all that. We're not going to talk about your harassing behavior. We just want that. Fair is fair, she would say. He refuses and he kind of agrees. And then he takes her upstairs, and he's like, oh, you're quite a beautiful girl. And he starts pulling out this wad of money. He's like, you're a real looker, I bet you drive the boys crazy. And stuff like that. And he puts $50 down on the counter, and he goes, I tell you what, every week you come by here, I'll give you $50. We do some other things too, and you can earn your money back. And he starts grabbing her. He's being all kinds of that guy. They get into a bit of an argument. At that time, Binks and their friends, the other the members of the gang there, they come in the store looking for her. Binks is pissed, all beat up and stuff, so he just goes right to the register, starts hitting buttons till the register pops out, and there's a gun in the register. All right? Billie Jean comes running down the stairs with this guy chasing after her, but Binks, her brother, has the gun. All right? And they're like, what? They argue a little bit about everything that's just going on, and then the guy bluffs. It's like, because Binks is pointing the gun at him, and I want the money to fix my bike and so forth. And the guy's like, you think I keep a loaded gun in the register, boy? Here, let me come take that from you. He's like, oh, it's not even loaded? Bang! And shoots the guy. Kids, being kids, scared about what just happened, they run off. All right? Police are looking for them. They go hiding out at a mini golf range or a mini golf course and stuff like that. And they're trying to figure out what to do. All right. And they get to a series of adventures because the story starts breaking out. They're looking for attempted murder suspect named Billie Jean. She's a suspect, and they're on the run, and it starts getting more and more press. The cops are looking for them and stuff like that. And so people are running into Billie Jean in public, and they're like, are you her? Are you Billie Jean? And everyone knows, that guy at the store is a D-bag. Everyone knows, how, about the scooter and, the whole story, because it's a small town. Everyone knows, it's gossip. And so they know everything that went down. And so like everyone's kind of on their side, Billie Jean's side. But, you know, the police are still, they're still wanted for questioning, you know, and so forth. The store owner who got shot survives, but he's mad as hell at them. And they're like, they say, he says, I'm not going to pay it. I got shot. You know, there's no way I'm paying them $608. All right. And so a series of events ensue, and, you know, they keep trying to screw over these kids. They want to turn themselves in, but, you know, it's like they're not getting what they want. You know, there's all sorts of people like radio station coming out. It's like, come on down to the radio station, Billie Jean. We'll give you a brand new Honda Elite or whatever, that brand new one for your brother. And she's like, no, it's not. The point is I don't want a new one. I want the money from him, because it was his son that destroyed my brother's bike. You know, that's the point. Fair is fair, as she would say in the movie. And that was the point. And that's what I loved about this character. It's like, I was trying to prove a point. You know, I'm going to ignore all the touchy-grabby stuff. I'm going to ignore you beating up my brother. Just pay us what you owe us. That's all she wanted. Fair is fair. You know? And there's one scene in this movie that is my absolute favorite, and it's they're sitting there, and it's after she cut her hair. Go back to that picture with short hair. Yeah, she met this video nerd and like cut her hair and released a statement to the press and the police, you know, saying her side of the story while she was still on the lam, and cut her hair real short. And fair is fair. You know what I mean? I'm sure you've seen it. It's a pretty good movie. And so they start running from the cops, but every girl in town is cutting her hair like hers and even dyeing it blonde and stuff like that. And so she just basically hides in the sea of all these women who are following her style, you know, which is kind of cool. It's like, you know, real good urban camouflage. You know what I mean? It's a cool movie about justice. But my very favorite scene is when she's sitting in the car and these two kids are looking at her, and she's trying not to look at them, but they come up to her and say, "Are you Billie Jean?" It's like, yeah, and it's like, you got to help Bobby, or whatever the kid's name is. You got to help Bobby. Someone's got to help Bobby. And so the next scene you see is like Billie Jean walking down the street towards Bobby's house. And there's this big crowd as she's going. It's like a Michael Jackson video. All these like people start joining. That's Billie Jean. They start following, joining the club, and, you know, join the group as they're walking down the street to Billy's house, right? And they're all standing there outside of Billy's house, and you can hear him being beat inside by his dad, right? And it's awful. People are all staring at each other, stuff like that. And Billie Jean walks into the door and has this little interaction with the father, and like the boys, like he tells the boys, like, get up, you're coming with me. And he's like, who the hell are you? Get out of my house, and stuff like that. And then he's like, she goes, I'm Billie Jean. And he goes, no, wait, you're not her. And he's like, wait a minute, you are her. And he starts looking and sees all these people outside his house looking in the windows and stuff like that. Oh, damn, I guess you are her. And the next scene, you see her coming out with Billy, and she says, Billy has decided to spend some time with his grandmother. And everyone's like, yeah. It's a really great hero of the people moment. And I really that's my favorite scene in the movie. It's really cool. I know I'm spoiling the entire thing, but I won't spoil the end. But I think it's a really good movie. Not only that, but this is Helen Slater back in the day. I think this picture is interesting because I like these pictures from an older era, like the non-digital era. Because Helen Slater was a young actress at this time. She had her hair cut, obviously, for the movie. And so one day they had her come out to a park or somewhere on the studio lot that had some nice trees or something like that, had her dress up in her costume, got the earring in, got her hair done right, a little bit of makeup to make her look all even more beautiful. And they take a series of promotional shots for the Legend of Billie Jean movie. And, you know, there's one like this. There's one where she was like kind of had one arm hanging from the tree, but she looked kind of like a monkey and she didn't like it. So they scrapped that one. And so here we are today with this picture. And it's a good promotional shot for the movie The Legend of Billie Jean. All right. And that was her Thursday in 1984. You know? So Helen Slater was such a beautiful woman. She still is for an older lady. But yeah. So I think it's a really good movie. Any movie that's about justice is really good. Plus, when you have pictures like, you know, a chick that looks like this in it, or the other one. Yeah, there's a lot of that in the beginning of that movie. It's a really an attention getter. It really does strike. Even when I was like 9 watching this for the first time, that catches my attention. So Billie Jean is my hero, the hero of the people. Man, you got to take that away. I'm going to be distracted. I was going to be like, let's talk about the news, but that's the news right there. That's why you invent a time machine. Right there. All right, let's get into the news worth knowing. It's so hard making time machines. Requires so much metal. You know how much expensive metal is these? Anyway. All right, let's talk about Trump a little bit. Trump reveals VP shortlist, including DeSantis, Scott, Ramaswamy, Noam, Donalds, and Gabbard. All right. So I guess it's not really a short list. All right. So it's from Greenville, South Carolina. Former President Trump indicated that at least half a dozen contenders, including 3 former rivals of the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, are on his shortlist for running mate. The commanding frontrunner of the GOP nomination had plenty of praise for one of the potential candidates who joined Trump at Fox News Town Hall on Tuesday in this upstate South Carolina city. During the program, which ran on Fox News, The Ingram Angle, Trump was asked about a half dozen potential running mate choices. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina, multimillionaire biotech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, Representative Byron Donalds from Florida, and former Representative Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii, a Democrat turned independent. Are they all on your short list? Laura Ingram asked. They are, Trump, and they are. They totally are. Honestly, all those people are good. They're all good and they're all solid. You notice who's not in the list. Trump had a history of making comments off the cuff. No. Really? As many in the political world see DeSantis as Trump's running mate as a stretch since the two of the camps blasted each other for over a year. Yeah, okay. So DeSantis endorsed Trump at the time he left the race, but has not joined him on the campaign trail in the ensuing weeks. DeSantis was also in South Carolina on Tuesday for an official event, but did not team up with Trump. So maybe there's bad blood. Ramaswamy, who has long been a strong supporter of Trump's America First agenda, dropped his White House bid last month after the Iowa caucuses and endorsed the former president. He has teamed up with Trump multiple times since then and campaigned with him on behalf of the Trump on South Carolina on Tuesday. Scott, the only black Republican, relevant, in the Senate, suspended his presidential bid in November and enthusiastically endorsed Trump in New Hampshire last month. He has also joined the former president on the campaign trail in South Carolina the past 2 weeks. A lot of people are talking about that gentleman right over there, Trump said as he pointed to Scott, who was sitting in the front row of the audience. He's been such a great advocate. I have to say it in a very positive way. Tim Scott, he has been much better for me than he was for himself. Way to go, Trump. It's so Trump. I watched his campaign, and he doesn't like talking about himself, but boy, does he talk about Trump, the former said of Scott, referring to himself in the third person. I called him, and I said, Tim, you're better for me than you were for yourself. The ego of this guy. You know, this is why people like Trump. He talks like men talk to each other. Yeah. All right. Ball buster. Even if you, we bust each other's chops, you know. He talks like a real person, you know. And he's the president that has made me laugh the most. Never laughed with Barack Obama. A couple of times I laughed at George W. Bush, where he like ducking the shoes. That cracked me up.
Anytime he tried to say words, I found it funny.
And when he tried to say what? Words?
He tried to say words.
See, that's what's funny. You talk about Bush screwing up a couple of colloquialisms back in the day, and look at Biden out there now. The true anometer shot of the pressure. When did my son die? Is that Tuesday? Last Tuesday. And in fairness to Biden, he's made me laugh a couple times. You know, navigating stairs, wandering around stages. Gerald Ford fell once, and it was a constant joke. It was a constant joke at his expense. But Biden, falling all the time. Anyway, we don't need to read any more of this article. So, I mean, it would be cool if Trump, you know, can lay aside some differences, maybe get somebody more sane. Like I would like to see DeSantis VP, but if there's bad blood, anyway. All right, let's go to this next story. FBI informant who lied about the Biden's ties to Ukrainian energy company had high-level Russian contacts. So exactly the opposite of what he said. Okay. Former FBI informant charged with lying about a multi-million dollar bribery scheme between a Ukrainian energy company and the Bidens had contacts with Russian intelligence officials, prosecutors said on Tuesday. In court filings, prosecutors said Alexander Smirnov admitted during an interview before his arrest last week that officials associated with Russian intelligence were involved in passing a story about the president's son, Hunter Biden. They said Smirnov's contacts with Russian officials were recent and extensive, and said Smirnov had planned to meet with one official during an upcoming overseas trip. They say Smirnov, who had a number of numerous contacts with a person he described as a son of a former high-ranking government official, and this is a quote, someone who with ties to a particular Russian intelligence service. They said there was a serious risk that Smirnov could flee overseas to avoid facing trial. Prosecutors revealed the alleged contact as they urged a judge to keep Smirnov behind bars while he waits trial. Smirnov, who holds dual U.S. Israeli citizenship, is charged with falsely reporting to the FBI in June 2020 that executives associated with the Ukrainian energy company Burisma paid Hunter and Joe Biden $5 million each in 2015 or 2016. Smirnov had only routine business dealings with the company starting in 2017 and made bribery allegations after he expressed bias against Joe Biden while he was a presidential candidate, prosecutors said. Special counsel David Weiss and Smirnov's lives were aimed at affecting the 2024 presidential election. Smirnov is charged with making false statements and creating a false and fictitious record. The charges were filed in Los Angeles, where he lived for 16 years before relocating to Las Vegas 2 years ago. Smirnov was due in court later Tuesday in Vegas. He has been in custody at the facility in rural Pahrump. That's a cool name for a place. Pahrump, about an hour drive west of Las Vegas, since his arrest last week at the airport while returning overseas. So, I mean, it's funny. It's like, I think that like the Biden family is going to go down as the most corrupt, obviously corrupt presidential administration ever.
But
the Clintons, I suppose like it matters. Do you think the Clintons? Yeah. That's a good argument. Like the Clintons started it. They started the trend, you know?
In Alabama.
No, Arkansas. Arkansas, yeah. And so, I mean, it's been a trend with the Democrats. Corruption. And it's so blatant that, I mean, how are we not taking this seriously? How are we not doing that? Anyway. All right. Let's talk about more corruption from the Biden family. Biden himself cancels $1.2 billion in student debt 6 months ahead of schedule. The White House on Wednesday announced that President Biden has canceled another $1.2 billion in student loan debt for more than 150,000 borrowers earlier than expected. In an executive action that was originally planned for July, Biden has activated a Savings on Valuable Education (SAVE) plan policy that cancels debt for enrolled borrowers who have been in repayment for at least 10 years and hold $12,000 or less in student loan debt. Those with larger debts will receive relief after an additional year of payments for every additional $1,000 they borrowed. Quote, the shortened time to forgiveness will particularly help community college and other borrowers with smaller loans and put many on track to being free of student debt faster than ever before, the White House said in a statement. Under the Biden-Harris administration SAVE plan, 85% of future community college borrowers will be debt-free within 10 years. Biden has now unilaterally wiped away nearly $138 billion in federal student loans for almost 3.9 million borrowers without a single act of Congress. The student loan bailouts came after the U.S. Supreme Court blocked Biden's initial debt cancellation plan last year, which would have cost more than $400 billion. Quote, from day one of his administration, President Biden vowed to fix the student loan system and make sure higher education is a pathway to the middle class, not a barrier to opportunity, the White House said. Nearly 153,000 borrowers who have qualified for Biden's latest handout will receive an email from the president starting this week informing them of their relief, according to the White House. Next week, the U.S. Department of Education will begin to contact borrowers who are not enrolled in the SAVE plan or who are eligible for relief to encourage them to sign up. Who do you think the poor bastard is that's got to have to type in all those email addresses? Like, they have the contact information. They get that from all the loan companies or whatever like that. And they get the email addresses to the people whose loans that they have. They give them to the White House. The White House has some guy sit there, look through this list, and type them all into an email and send it out as like a big shotgun blast to all these people. Who's the poor bastard who's got to sit there and type all those crazy, grapeape69@gmail.com.
Congratulations.
Boondock Taint 131. Cinnamon and Spice 420@gmail.com. Poor guy. Anyway, he's straight up buying votes. Odd thing is that those people probably already vote for him. College idiots. So, I mean, it's, who ends up paying for that? We do. We end up paying for that. And, it'd be nice to get a nice, $21,000 loan. That'd be nice. Help get my business started, get some new equipment. I can edit videos easier. That'd be nice. Just have the government pay for it. That'd be really, really wonderful. All right. Let's talk about a couple pissed off daughters that hate their dad. Daughter duo teams up with America's Most Wanted to help nab fugitive father. They have good reason, though. All right. Suspected Florida child molester whose alleged victims included his own granddaughter has been captured days after his family teamed up with America's Most Wanted to raise awareness about the case. Davy Albaron, 51, who has been on the run since 2022 for sexual battery and lewd conduct towards two young women. When his daughters, Anna and Yaneri Albaron, learned of the accusation, they kicked off a viral social media campaign that garnered more than 80 million views online and the attention of the team of America's Most Wanted. We'll catch that dirtbag, John Walsh vowed. So caustic, isn't he? We'll catch that dirtbag, host John Walsh vowed on the air last week. I guarantee it. It marks the first capture since Walsh's son, Callahan, joined him on the show's co-host in less than a week after the rebooted show's fourth episode. Quote, I'm not a professional baseball player, but it's better than hitting a grand slam in the World Series, Callahan Walsh told Fox News Digital. I don't know. It's not like I become the Punisher. If I became the Punisher and it's like more than one, but one, I think I'd let one kitty diddler go to hit a grand slam in the World Series. Am I that selfish? I think I am. Oh, man. Anyway, weird way to put it. Weird way to put it, man. So he went on to say, this is why we do what we do. And the audience there of Fox viewers, America's Most Wanted did it again, providing justice for the families who were so desperate for it. After the show aired last Monday, tips began pouring in, he said. It's great to have the show revamped. It's an honor to be working with my father. Huge shoes to fill. Within 6 days, a canine unit from Polk County Sheriff's Office arrested Albaron at the house at the Country Haven Drive in Lakeland, Florida. It might have been Country Haven Drive, but it was no haven for him. Sheriff Grady Judd said after the arrest. In an interview with Fox 35 Orlando, he praised Albaron's daughters for their courage. Quote, he's a pedophile. He's a child molester. He's the worst of the worst, and I applaud his adult daughters for working with us to capture him, the sheriff said. The father-son crime-fighting team joined Albaron's daughters, their crime-fighting team, and shared pictures. There was a team-up, a Marvel team-up. Of the suspect and several distinctive features, including multiple scars and crooked teeth. Deputies arrested the fugitive in the same town where they were last spotted in 2023. I actually got a phone call from my sister. Yaniri Albaron told AMW last week, and she told me that my child had said that Davey had been sexually abusing her in the last few months, and my heart dropped. I was devastated. I'm sure that's got to be. Oof. Life-changing betrayal, absolutely, she said. My dad was my best friend. I could not believe he'd do that. As a father, you're supposed to protect your own family, not harm them. They want to say I was flooded with DMs from other people who allegedly said he had victimized them as children. My worst nightmare is I didn't catch him in time and then he hurt someone else. I'm starting to get sick. I'm sorry for laughing, but it's grotesque work catching these people. It really is, you know. So good for the people who fight to do that, because it takes a stronger stomach than what I got. Stronger stomach than what I got. All right, let's lighten the mood, huh? The last two stories, and I don't know, think about happier thoughts. So, man sets record for the most matches held in nose. Says it didn't really hurt.
Like matches that you light fires?
No. I don't think Guinness would endorse a record like that. Most lit matches. That doesn't seem like... That seems like a liability nightmare. You know what I mean? A man from Denmark... Denmark has internet. There's got to be better things to do, right? A man from Denmark who stuck 68 matches in his nose is now the new Guinness World Record holder for the most matches held in nose. The publication reported on Thursday, February 15th. Peter von Tangen Buskov, 39 of Denmark, is the first person to hold the record for the most matches held in nose. The first person. So he just basically created a category. Is that all you need to do? Most not knives in my eye. I get two. Boom, first record. Stab myself in the eye. You do it 3 times. It's so crazy. Who cares about this stuff? Anyway, in order to achieve the record, he had to insert at least 45 matches in his nostrils, because otherwise they wouldn't stay. You don't do one at a time, like 1, 2. Now it's like you get a handful, right? You plug it in. How do I already know how to do this better than he does? You plug it in. I was like, okay, now that's tight. All right. Then you get there, you get a mirror, and you sit there and you count how many are in there. All right. And then you start working up one at a time. All right. Seems real simple to me. Maybe I can get a stupid record. Instead of stopping at 45, he continued on, putting an additional 23 matches in his nose before calling it quits at 68. I'm bored. This is stupid. Why am I doing this? Well, might as well send it to Guinness, just in case nobody's ever tried this. Video released by Guinness World Records shows that Van Tangen Buskov inserted bunches of matches into his nose at once, rather than placing them there one by one, like I've just said. How else? There's no other way to do it. Stand on your head and do it, I suppose. But why? Again, why? Von Tangen Buskov claims that the record attempt didn't really hurt, much to his surprise. I have fairly large nostrils and quite stretchy skin. I'm sure that helped a lot. He told Guinness World Records. All right, so he set the record for most matches held in nose. He has opened the idea of breaking his own record in the future, either by training his nostrils, quote unquote, training his nostrils to accept more matches, or by letting nature run its course. Perhaps my nose will grow as I get older, he told Guinness. He came up with the most matches held a nose record himself, while thinking of a potential fun records he could either set or break. So that's exactly what he did. He created a category of a record. Why are people so stupid? Why does Guinness care? You know, world record means like weight lifted, you know, something productive. You know, even when I had was really interested in Guinness Book of World Records, you know, when I was in middle school or something, you know, I would read these things. It's just this is absurd. That guy who never cut his fingernails and just said, yeah, I have this big, you know, 4 foot long set of keratin or whatever that I drag around. I have to keep in a sleeping bag all the time or else I lose my record. It's how useless of a human being are you if your nails are that long? You know, I think about the same thing when those girls, they got those long ass nails, they can't pick up anything off the floor. Or a desk. You know what I mean? It's how useless are you if you don't have to use your fingers? Even if it's one hand for the rest of your life. You know, because that's what you're talking about. That guy stopped using one arm for the rest of his life just to get a record. This guy's shoving matches in his nose just to get a record. But if I want to know, you know, the biggest weight ever hauled by a truck, that should be relevant. There's one born every minute. You know what I mean? One born every minute. I'm just now realizing that I'm not plugged in. I've been running on a battery this whole time, which is good news. The battery is working great. All right, let's get this last story. South Carolina woman running late drives through the cemetery for a shortcut and damages graves. Yeah, well, they won't mind. I'm sure that's what she was thinking. All right, so a South Carolina woman was running late for an appointment and decided to take a shortcut through a cemetery where she damaged several graves. Oconee County Sheriff deputies in South Carolina attempted to stop the woman who allegedly told police she was late for an appointment, but continued to drive down Interstate 85 and across lanes into Livonia, Georgia. In case you saw or heard the law enforcement commotion, well, it wasn't us. Livonia police wrote on Facebook. The woman then drove into Livonia Cemetery, where she damaged several graves, the police department wrote. After striking the graves, the woman jumped out of her vehicle and began running on foot, but was quickly captured and taken into custody. Were you trying to meet your crack dealer? Were you trying to get to the heroin? Whoa. Police said that the woman will spend some time with them in Franklin County Sheriff before being transported back to Oconee County, South Carolina. You know, oh my goodness. There's a picture up on headstones. You know, I don't know what is so important that you think you got to go through there. And even if you're doing something like that, you know, even cemeteries, they have roads through them, right? Follow the road. I mean, I know that there are cemeteries that you can go in one side and come out of the road on the other side, you know, but there's a road part. It's disrespectful to go use it as a shortcut. You know what I mean? And it's certainly disrespectful to start and try. Oh, I'm late. These people are dead. What do they care? And it's I don't know. A lot of people paid a lot of money to put people in this ground here. It's a lot of money, keep up this ground. Plus, you know, they're dead people. Show some respect. Friggin' idiots. I don't know what else to say. I feel like the world's chock full of idiots. And the best time in my life was 1985. when Helen Slater had a crush on me back in 1985. And we were boyfriend and girlfriend. And she let me hold her hand, and we kissed once or twice. And then it was all ruined by the Mandela Effect. The Hadron Collider went on. Now I was just a nerd in the 80s who thought Helen Slater would ever think to get with me. So this is going to be the end of Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, the Madman. I want to remind you again that I have social media over here. You can follow me on social media there. Or you could go to Patreon, patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I would appreciate that. Or you can send me money through Cash App. Hashtag shockmonkeyradio. All one word. I would appreciate it. Any and all help. Like, share, and subscribe to this video. And yeah, I'm going to get on about my eerie ass day. So this has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.